32 years ago, a unique horror comedy directed by Tim Burton was released and unexpectedly led to a multimedia franchise. Beetlejuice remains a cult favorite thanks to its creative visual look, oddball sense of humor, and most importantly, the titular bio-exorcist. There have been different versions of Beetlejuice over the years, although what may surprise you is how much he evolved from the initial draft. The idea of the movie came from horror writer Michael McDowell, who wanted to do a twist on the haunted house story. Usually those involve innocent people who try to get rid of the annoying ghosts haunting their abode. With Beetlejuice, McDowell flipped it to be about innocent ghosts who want to get rid of the annoying people who have moved in. The original script was actually a lot darker than what ended up on the screen. Beetlejuice originally had a much more murderous streak, and if you thought him trying to marry Lydia in the finished movie was icky, let's just say the initial draft went much further with his intentions. I'll leave it at that. Beetlejuice was also initially conceived as a demon who took on the form of a Middle Eastern man, and Lydia had a younger sister, who was the only one who could see the Maitlands. Producer Larry Wilson read McDowell's screenplay and saw a lot of potential of it. Beetlejuice became one of those classic Hollywood stories you so often hear, of a script being passed around and rejected by multiple studios. Eventually, the Geffen Company bought the rights and hired Tim Burton to direct. Burton then brought in Warren Scarron to rewrite Beetlejuice to make it more comedic and the title character less murderous and more akin to a wacky poltergeist. Lydia and her sister were also combined into one character, and they turned the afterlife into a bureaucracy. The musical motif was also added to the film, initially R&B, before being switched to specifically Harry Belafonte tunes. Burton's original choice to play Beetlejuice was Sammy Davis Jr., but David Geffen convinced him to consider Michael Keaton for the role instead. And that casting choice was the final ingredient that likely helped turn Beetlejuice into the hit comedy it became. Even though his name is in the title, Beetlejuice surprisingly does not have much screen time, as we mostly follow the Maitlands as they deal with the Dietzes. However, any time Michael Keaton appears, he commands the screen and runs away with it. It's such an inspired and manic performance, and his presence is definitely felt all throughout the movie. He clearly was not afraid to take the character in all sorts of wild directions. The screenplay also provides us with just enough exposition to explain who he is without taking away some of the character's mystery. Other drafts apparently went more into his backstory, but I actually like that we don't know about how he died and how long he's been residing in the afterlife. Beetlejuice is portrayed as a trickster and a villain, and the film probably shows the clever ways he attempts to manipulate the Maitlands and Lydia. It is worth pointing out his name is spelled like the star Beetlejuice in the film itself, although the opening credits list Michael Keaton as playing Beetlejuice spelled like the title. So how do you spell his name? Well, Beetlejuice is forbidden to say his name, and that probably applies to writing it down too. So I interpret the alternate spelling as him finding a loophole and working his way around this. I've talked about the ghost with the most, but the rest of the movie is a delight too. Tim Burton brought so much of his sensibilities to the film's aesthetic, with production designer Bo Welch helping give the film its unmistakable appearance. The special effects have a wonderful charm to them, especially the stop-motion sandworms, and songs like Day-O and Jump the Line are used to brilliant effect. And who can forget Danny Elfman's incredibly catchy score? Everyone understandably talks about Keaton when discussing Beetlejuice, but the rest of the cast is great too. Alec Baldwin and Geena Davis are a believable couple, and we sympathize with them as they cope with their new situation. Winona Ryder earns her goth queen status with this performance, and Catherine O'Hara is hilarious as Delia Dietz. I also greatly appreciate one of the themes in the movie, which makes fun of the idea of buying a house only to completely change everything about it. I don't understand those people who purchase a home and then spend even more money remodeling the interior and exterior. If you bought a house, isn't it because you liked it? I get the sense the makers of Beetlejuice felt the same way. Beetlejuice is a movie I found quite unusual when I first saw it when I was younger, yet I was nonetheless intrigued by it. As I've grown older, I find myself appreciating even more the film's sensibilities and unique style of comedy. It might be one of Tim Burton's most entertaining and rewatchable films, and it's easy to see why it left an immediate impact on audiences. Like many a popular movie at the time, Beetlejuice was turned into an animated series, with Tim Burton heavily involved, and with animation produced by Nelvana. Airing on both ABC and Fox, the cartoon succeeded at bringing the style of the film to a weekly half-hour format, although it changed other aspects too. In the show, Beetlejuice and Lydia are friends who visit the netherworld and go on all sorts of adventures. The Maitlands are also absent, although Lydia's parents remain. Beetlejuice was voiced by Stephen Wieman, who brought his own energy to the role and was able to display his prankster side as well as the softer traits the animated series emphasize. Interestingly enough, Tara Strong was originally cast as Lydia before Nelvana settled on Alison Court, although Strong still played some side characters. The Beetlejuice cartoon took advantage of the freedom offered by animation to expand on the netherworld, and the artist came up with all sorts of creative monsters and creatures to populate it. The result was a fun series that works as a solid companion piece to the movie, while also doing its own thing in many areas, particularly showing the buddy dynamic between Beetlejuice and Lydia. After conquering film and animation, Beetlejuice made the jump to stage with a Broadway musical. I listened to the cast album and watched some clips from the show, and it definitely seems like a lot of fun. Beetlejuice here seems like a mix between the one from the movie and the one from the animated series, although the writers and actor Alex Bryman add their own elements too. Reading the plot synopsis, the show also puts its own spin on the movie, rather than being an exact recreation just with songs added in, and I actually applaud the team for that. After listening to the cast recording, my favorite songs are probably the whole being dead thing and That Beautiful Sound. Seeing the clips, I'm also impressed with the set design and choreography. Unfortunately, like all the other shows on Broadway, the musical was forced to close early because of the pandemic. The actors also revealed that outside of promotional clips, they did not film a live stage recording, although they expressed hope at doing it once it was safe to do so. Bryman did get to reprise the role of Beetlejuice on Teen Titans Go, and you can tell the writers are huge fans of the character. It was a hilarious episode with so many clever nods and made for a fun Halloween special. Ever since the original film was released, there's been talk of a potential sequel. Michael McDowell started dabbling on his own script for Beetlejuice 2, as did Warren Scarron, who wrote one titled Beetlejuice in Love, which would have had him in the middle of a love triangle. Then there was Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, which was born out of Tim Burton finding amusement out of the idea of combining Beetlejuice's German expressionist visuals with a 60s teen beach movie. Jonathan Gems wrote a script, but then Burton abandoned it in favor of other projects. Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder have especially been pushing for a sequel to happen, but only with Burton's involvement. Some years back, it seemed like there was some movement when Seth Grahame-Smith wrote a script for a sequel. However, it now appears to be shelved yet again. If a sequel is made, great. If not, the original film works perfectly fine as a standalone movie. We don't need to revive every 80s property with a new movie, as tempting as it is. As Tim Burton's film, the animated series, and the Broadway musical have shown us, Beetlejuice is a character who will remain remembered for a very long time. He's the ultimate ghostly trickster. Just say his name 3 times and it's showtime!